Hi, if you don't know me, my name is Ian, and I recently released this album. It's called All the Things That You Thought Mattered. You might have heard of it if you're on Spotify a lot. It's like the single biggest music project I've released so far. I'm incredibly proud of it, and you should go listen. But that's all I'm gonna advertise for my album. Today I thought I'd bring out some things that I've learned along the way, and I kind of want to pass along. If you're an independent artist like me, I mean like really independent, like do you wear 90% of the hats? Do you write and produce yourself? Do you mix and master? Do you distribute? Do you manage yourself? Do you market? Well, if you have 15 minutes, take a listen. First, I just want to make sure that you're going in with some kind of idea of like how to make music. Like I wouldn't recommend an LP being like your first project. Before this album came out, I released a bunch of EPs, just other more experimental stuff, trying to find my sound. Finding your sound through EPs, I would really recommend. So let's get right into it. First, let's talk a no-brainer. Number one, listen to a lot of music. Surround yourself with inspiration, pay attention to what other producers are doing and do that. My favorite producers are people like Jack Antonoff, Phineas, Brian Eno. These people have really inspired me, and I go on YouTube and look at their work a lot. I listen to their work a lot and figure out what's their thought process, what's their work process. I listen to a lot of music. Whenever I'm walking outside, I listen to music. When I'm in the car, I'm listening to music. Whenever I'm just at home and I don't have anything to do, I'm listening to just trying to pay attention to what producers are doing and what my favorite producers are doing especially. Alright, so now that we've gotten that out of the way, make sure that you've listened to music. Let's talk about the process. How did I make this album? Let's go down the process. My second point that I want to make is analyze your favorite albums. This doesn't mean like listening to random music that your favorite artists have made, but it's more of listening to albums in full, not on shuffle, like listening to albums. So my favorite albums are records like All You Can Leave Behind by U2, Waking Up by One Republic, and a lot of John Mayer records. But for this specific record that I made, I studied a lot of debut records because this was my first ever album. I wanted to like study how did people do it when they were first starting out, right? What are my favorite artists doing when they were at their start? So I listened to the 1975 a lot, like their OG, the 1975. I listened to that record a lot. I also listened to this album right here. This is a record, it's cracked, but it's a record called Gabriel. It's Keshi's debut album. He also released a bunch of EPs before he did his first LP. Love this record. So, but the ultimate thing is when you're listening to records, what do you like about this record? Ask yourself questions like, what makes these records special? How did this specific artist decide on the flow? Right? Ask yourself questions like that. All right, point number 3, to get it moving, you just have to start. Right? When I started this album, I didn't even know I was making an album. I was just making songs. So don't work in chronological order, figure out the track list later. This was the track list, the final track list of the album. And this was the track list, the order of how I made the songs. Very different. But once you have about 3 or 4 or even 5 songs, that's when it starts moving, right? So that's when you think, okay, so I've got this stuff. What do I have and what do I not have? I may have a filler song, I've got an opener, but I don't have a closer yet. This song sounds like it could be a really good middle of the album kind of song. What else do I have left to make? And then that's when it gets really hard. Oh, I don't have an opener yet, so now I need to go make an opener. You start to lose interest usually when it starts getting hard. But if you push through, I promise you could do it. All right, point number 4, buy your gear, whatever gear you need for your album, and then don't buy any more gear until you've finished your project. This goes for anything. This isn't just an LP. It goes for EPs, anything that you're working on that has more than one song. Just personally, I don't want a certain song sounding better than another song. I want it all to have kind of the same thing. So like, for example, this album, I started out with a gear I had and I just used that. I had this condenser and I never switched a mic because switching a mic changes the vocal sound, and I want to keep this vocal sound the same. What's gonna happen is you're not gonna like those songs that didn't have the gear, the better gear. Stick to what you have. Point number 5, don't try to make a type of song. Make a song and figure out what type of song is. My process of writing is actually very different. I know there's a lot of people who write songs like on their guitar and then they go record it. I kind of like produce and write at the same time, and I use a song to figure out what sort of vibe it is. I try not to go into a song saying, oh, I want it to sound like this song, or I want to make like an upbeat pop song, because I might end up making something completely different. You just gotta learn to accept what you've made as something else. So don't go in with too many expectations is what I'm trying to say. Get to know a song like it's a new friend, Point number 6, like the last point, let the concept of the album build itself as you go. So this is a skill you kind of need to capture along the way, and that's a skill of being a storyteller. An album is a story. Albums I listen to, I can see a story happening in it, right? Is it a breakup album? Is it a story about life? Is it an album about your parents, about your friends? Gotta have some kind of story that kind of intertwines the whole thing. So themes, think themes, right? That point where you have about 3 or 4 songs, that's really important because you need to figure out what do these 3 or 4 songs have in common, and then from now on, what do I start writing about? So when I had these like 3 or 4 songs, I thought, okay, so I have themes of friendship, growing up, I have themes of love, struggling with like addiction. Now that's really hard because I had so many different stuff going on. So I decided this album is about growing up, and it's about life, and it's about all the things that you thought mattered. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. You find it doesn't really matter. You have to start writing based on the theme that you gave yourself. And then that's when the discipline happens. That's when you just gotta put your head down, work at it, and figure out what this album is. The most important part is what themes do I want to convey, and what's my story that I want to express in this record. Okay, so now we're getting into deep waters here. I'm gonna assume that at this point, you've probably been working at this for a long time. So at this point, take it seriously. Take this work seriously. Put your head down and work at it. It's kind of like the last point, but if it's not working out, if a song's not working out, just start again. We're not at the age of tape where you don't have enough like run out of tape. You might run out of storage, but just get a hard drive. The number one reason why I threw away a song for this album was probably because it didn't fit the production, or I didn't like the writing or something like that. If you just keep making music, you're gonna find something that you like, and it's a matter of whether you can make enough songs that you like that becomes an album. I like the songs, and it all comes down to whether to making songs that you like. Work It Out, Running to You, Dreams, like I listen to those songs and I still like them, and I've lived with these songs for months and months. You will inevitably find songs that you like, and when you find a song that you like, don't let go of it. Just keep at it. Keep discipline. It's a hard, again, I never said an album was gonna be easy. It's a really hard project, but you will find songs that you like. Now let's go into another problem that people tend to have when they're making an album is I just don't have enough time. I don't have enough time. I have work, I have school, I have to take care of kids. Cut things out of your life to do it. I'm not saying throw away your responsibilities, but like I found that if I took all the time that I was spending at night watching Instagram, watching movies, and watching YouTube, it saved me a lot of time. Any time that I felt that I just want to relax right now, I turn that around, I use that time to make music. If you truly enjoy making music, you should be willing to sacrifice your own entertainment for it, because it is your entertainment. Like if you don't enjoy your work as a musician, we make music for fun, guys. Like, you shouldn't be making an album or music at all if you don't enjoy doing it. Never felt like, oh, I have to do this. It was more like, oh, I get to do this today. I get to track a guitar solo today. Oh, I get to do vocal stacks today. So I basically just cut out all the time I was wasting away on TikTok and whatever. But I'm sure you can find some time. You just throw away time that you're wasting on the internet. And yeah, those were a couple really hard points to take, but in the end, it's true. That's just how I did it. I don't know if that's how you're gonna do it, but that's how I did it. All right, number 9. Figure out where your fountain of inspiration is. So when you're writing, this is kind of a writer's thing. I used to be a writer, like I wrote stories and stuff, and I would always take inspiration from something, whether it was music or whether it was another piece of work, something else. So for this record, I found that the place where I got the most inspiration was New York City. And this is the city that I live in, and this is a city that I love, and I love the people in it. I love the places. I love the subway. I love how the weather's unpredictable. I love the character and personality in this city. I just took a lot of walks, and I kind of wrote through that, and it gave me a lot of inspiration. So maybe your city could give you some inspiration, I don't know, but spend time with the place where you find your inspiration the most. So a lot of New York elements got pulled into this album. Like there's a bunch of lyrics that reference New York places. Find where your inspiration is coming from, spend time with it. All right, number 10, keep your expectations realistic. So what does that mean, right? Know what you can do and what you can't do. I'm all for trying. So if you want to try a genre or a specific type of song, go for it. But I do know that I've tried making mainstream pop, like those super clean pop stuff, a lot, and the stuff that I make in that genre never really speaks to me. But when I make like alternative grungy stuff, even just like hip-hop/pop, or if I put a lot of rock elements into it, blues stuff, like I like it. I like that stuff that I make. So figure out what you do best. Now I'm not saying stick to your comfort zone, but if you're making an album, you're gonna need to repeat that process a lot. In genre-wise, I would say know what you can do and what you can't do. So figure out a genre that you work in, that you really like the stuff that you do in it, and just stick with that. You have to take risks in certain areas, and you also have to know when is the time to just step back and say, hey, like I can't do that, so let's try something different. I usually experiment through like EPs and figure out my sound, and until I'm a better musician, maybe someday I can do more experimenting in albums. But at this point in time where I'm at, I learned that I needed to figure out the stuff that I was good at and stick with that. All right, so point 11, this is the last point, and it's basically gonna wreck everything that I just talked about. in the past 10 points. But don't listen to what anyone says. Do it how you want to do it. Don't listen to what I'm saying in this video. Like, my word means absolutely nothing, because at the end of the day, the best art comes from rebels. People who say, okay, so people are doing it this way. I don't want to do that. I don't want to, people already did that, so I want to do something different. I wanted to make the music that I wanted to hear. What if this artist met this artist and say, hey, I want to collab? None of this stuff matters. It's all the stuff that you thought mattered, but doesn't matter at the end. Make your music and go on with your life. It could go like, you're gonna want to compress it this way, or you're gonna want to put the reverb on this way. You don't want to put the reverb on the track, put it on a send. Why is your vocal so dark? If it sounds good to you, then that's the right way. Something that I learned from Finneas and what he said is like, if it sounds good to you, then that's the right way of doing it. And that's kind of how I made this album. It's listening to myself and figuring out what I want for this album and what no one else wants for this album. Like, I could do anything I wanted. At the end of the day, if you don't care about what other people think, it's one of the most powerful tools. This was an 11-track album, and it took me a really long time, but these are the things, the 11 things that I learned personally that helped me make this album. So if you want to follow these, you are completely free to. People have probably talked about these before, but these are just the things that I learned myself. I hope it was useful for you too. I hope it was eye-opening in some way. Again, don't take my word for it. It might not work for you. What works for me just works for me. Links all below. If you want to listen to the album, links are down below. But thank you for all the support, and thank you for watching this video. I'm not going to ask you to subscribe, because I don't know if this is going to be a consistent thing, but listen to my work. Like, you're awesome. But make that album, make that music, make that EP, wherever you are. Good luck, and thanks for watching.